Soft silver moonlight filtered through the narrow lattice window of the small upstairs room, painting the faded floral wallpaper in pale patterns. A gentle breeze rustled the light cotton curtains, carrying the distant chirp of cicadas. A single oil lamp flickered on a low wooden stool by the doorway, its scent of mustard all mingling with the faint perfume of jasmine garlands hanging by the bedpost. "Mom, I think Sunanda's labor pains have started. We need to get to the hospital quickly," Rakesh said, waking his mother from sleep. His voice quivered in the hosh. He wore a threadbare kurta pajama and his bare feet felt the cool tile. "Oh my, at this late hour, you weren't asleep?" she asked, lifting the delicate edge of her pastel green silk sari to cover her shoulders. Her gold bangles tinkled softly as she swung her legs off the bed. "I was, but suddenly I heard Sunanda moaning and came running to you." Across the hall, the walls were lined with old family photographs, Rakesh's grandparents in sepia tones, his parents' wedding portrait, and pictures of his 4 young sisters, each wrapped in bright lehengas. A framed calendar marked the date in bold Marathi script, mid-July, the monsoon just beginning. "Is it really necessary to go to the hospital?" Mother asked, pausing to pinch the bridge of her nose. The soft glow from the lamp revealed fine lines of worry. "Yes. The doctor told us that because the placenta is low-lying, she'll need a surgical delivery." Mother rose and smoothed the folds of her sari. "We'll go to the hospital," Mother said, "but listen carefully. Son, you know how many people we've tried to bribe, yet no doctor would tell us via ultrasound whether it's a boy or a girl. Now, if it's a girl, she'll be your 5th daughter. A daughter is one thing, but raising her will be another burden on your shoulders." The words hung in the still air, heavy with expectation. Rakesh's shoulders slumped beneath the thin fabric of his kurta. "You are right, Mother. I don't even know if destiny holds a son for me," Rakesh replied, his voice hollow in the quiet room. Mother crossed to the window and peered out at the dark fields beyond the courtyard, where mango trees stood like silent sentinels in the night. "I was sleepy too," Mother continued. "Look at your father, just 2 sips of whiskey and he's fast asleep, without a worry in the world. Your job barely covers the family's needs. What will you do if another daughter arrives?" The wooden floorboards creaked as Rakesh shifted his weight. "But what choice do we have now?" Rakesh said. "We'll have to bear it." Mother turned back, the lamplight catching the glint of concern in her eyes. "You won't have to bear it," Mother countered, "if you do as I say." "Mother, you always make the decisions. Why ask me now?" he protested, though his voice lacked conviction. "Because this is how it has to be. Don't take Sunanda to the hospital. I've already spoken with Jamuna Dai, our midwife. She says that if Sunanda delivers in a hospital, everything, name, address, will be recorded. But if we do it at home, and it's a daughter, she'll press lightly on a vein in the baby's neck and save us all this future burden. No one, Sunanda or any relative, will ever know. We'll say the baby was stillborn, but that can't happen under hospital scrutiny. And as for the operation, Jamuna Dai reminds us that in the old days, babies were always delivered at home. It's only recently that doctors have taken over." Rakesh fell silent, his face turning ashen in the lamplight. Outside, the monsoon wind rattled a loose pane, a distant dog barked. "Why aren't you saying anything?" Mother asked, moving closer so the soft silk of her sari brushed his arm. "What can I say, Mother? Part of me agrees, part of me doesn't, and I'm scared of doing this." Mother's gaze hardened. "And what about those tests you were arranging for an abortion? That was for this purpose too, if it turned out to be a girl." Rakesh swallowed. "Mother, you are right, but what does father think?" She smiled tightly, as if tasting victory. "He agrees. He's even set aside 10,000 rupees for Jamuna Dai. Sunanda will never suspect a thing. She can't give birth to a boy anyway. If she ever found out, she'd hold it against you for having your daughter killed." Rakesh quietly nodded in agreement, the weight of his family's expectations pressing down on him like the humid night air. That very night, in a dimly lit back room draped with faded maroon curtains, Rakesh's mother called Jamuna Dai and set everything in motion for a clandestine home delivery. The smell of boiled ginger tea lingered on the small wooden table beside the cot. A few hours later, Sunanda, pale and trembling in her floral print nightgown, gave birth to a beautiful baby girl under the flicker of a single electric bulb. The walls echoed with the baby's first wails. As soon as Jamuna applied slight pressure to the baby's neck, the child began wailing loudly, just as Sunanda reached up to see her. Fearing Sunanda might notice what was happening, Jamuna hesitated. Sunanda's mother-in-law, draped in a simple cotton sari and stacked with silver bangles, shoved Sunanda back onto the cot with one hand and motioned Jamuna with the other to carry the baby into the next room. Jamuna, terrified of being discovered, wrapped the baby in a faded red cloth and handed her to Rakesh, who clutched the bundle as if it were both blessing and curse. Then Jamuna slipped back into the delivery room and injected Sunanda with a sedative, sending her into a deep sleep. The steady hum of the ceiling fan blended with Sunanda's uneven breaths. Desperate for money, Jamuna felt as though her very life depended on it. Seizing the moment, Rakesh's mother handed her another 5,000 rupees, the crisp notes cool against her palm. "Take this," she whispered, "but be sure to dispose of the baby before Sunanda wakes. We'll tell her the baby was stillborn." Jamuna's eyes gleamed in the lamplight. She placed the baby in a black plastic bag and stepped out into the humid night. The dirt courtyard, scattered with clay pots and drying laundry, led to a narrow path through rice paddies slick with monsoon mud. She carried the bag through the darkness to a lonely garbage dump outside the village, where rotting husks of jackfruit lay strewn. There, she dropped a heavy stone onto the bag. The stone didn't strike the baby, but its impact made the infant cry out even louder. Fearing she'd been seen, Jamuna hurried back through the fields, her sandals slipping in the mud, until she reached Sunanda's house. Rakesh and his parents waited anxiously beneath the cracked porch light. "I don't know if the baby is dead or alive," Jamuna told them, voice shaking, "but she's gone from your lives. Now tend to Sunanda, consider this trouble averted." Meanwhile, no one heard the baby's cries, except two laborers, Hira and Jaggu, pedaling their battered bicycles toward the city before dawn in hopes of finding work. Both wore threadbare waist wrap and cotton shirts, their heads covered with damp cloths against the mist. At around 3 in the morning, Hira paused mid-pedal. "Jaggu, do you hear that? It sounds like a baby crying." Jaggu spat on the road. "Not a baby, our luck's crying," he muttered. "Quiet, man. We'd better check. Maybe a woman in distress left her child here." They abandoned their bicycles by the dusty road and fished out a small torch from Jaggu's satchel. When Jaggu trained its beam on a black plastic bag quivering beneath a banana tree, Hira knelt and pried it open. Inside, he found a trembling baby girl, her dark hair matted and eyes wide with fear. "Quick, let's take her to the hospital nearby," Jaggu urged, lifting her gently as if she were a delicate pot. They rushed the child to the government hospital, a flat, whitewashed building with a flickering neon sign that read, ICU. Inside, the antiseptic smell was sharp, and the corridors echoed with the beeping of monitors. Doctors in starched white coats and nurses in crisp uniforms crowded around as the baby was admitted and a police report filed. The next day, announcements rang out across the city in Hindi and Marathi. "If you've lost a baby girl, come claim her." But no one came forward. Soon the story reached the media. The chief minister phoned the district collector, insisting the case be resolved quietly to avoid scandal. Advertisements were placed in newspapers. 2 weeks passed, but still no claimant. Rakesh and his parents realized this was their daughter, but they refused to admit it. Finally, the collector and the SSP formed a committee of respected citizens in a wood-paneled conference room, the air heavy with the smell of tea and biscuits. They first offered a final deadline to the parents, then they invited adoption applications. The media coverage had made the baby an object of public sympathy, and many couples applied. To narrow the field, they excluded very elderly and very young applicants. Then they prioritized families of great wealth, billionaires willing to endow half their estate in the child's name and pledge it in court. Still, 3 high-profile couples remained. At last, they resorted to drawing lots in the committee hall. A single slip revealed the winning couple, a gleaming family from Mumbai, dressed in impeccable business attire, whom the media hailed as heroes. After completing legal formalities in the district court's marble foyer, they brought the baby from the hospital to their luxury hotel, its lobby adorned with chandeliers and marble floors. Rakesh, consumed by regret and dressed in a barely pressed kurta, longed merely to see his daughter once. Under the pretense of delivering sweets, he slipped into the hotel. The polished brass guard at the desk, noting his furtive gaze, signaled the security team. Before he could reach the elevator, guards seized him and beat him severely. Bruised and bleeding, he stumbled out into the humid midday heat and fled back home, each step fueling his remorse. Inside the small living room, his mother wept silently, her sari damp with grief. His father sat slumped in the wooden rocking chair, his moustache trembling. The daughters huddled in the corner, clutching each other. A wave of sorrow swept through the household. Rakesh thought, if my daughter had stayed with us, perhaps my fortunes would have changed. But like a parable passed down in whispers, his regret arrived too late.